Okay, we are live. All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Cap at Home Artist Shoutouts. I'm Miss Rachel, and today we are interviewing Miss Lynn. So if you've been watching our videos, you've seen her a couple times. I'm going to read her bio, then we're going to get to ask her some questions. Hey. So Miss Lynn is wrapping up her first academic year with CAP. Originally from Pennsylvania, she lived in New York for 15 years, where she studied at Columbia University and the Fashion Institute of Technology, and she earned degrees in art history and printmaking. Now she is working as a textile and installation artist, primarily focusing on fiber-based sculptures and wall hangings, interactive installations, and videos. If an artist were to follow in her footsteps, the advice Ms. Lynn would give is to find the tools, materials, and processes you enjoy working with. Artists work in all types of media. Being an artist is about occupying a creative mindset regardless of the material. So welcome, Ms. Lynn.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Oh,
And
no
I just wanted to
problem.
clarify one thing that
Mhm.
I studied pattern making at
Okay.
FIT. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Although I do printmaking as well, so
Okay. Did I say printmaking? She
no,
wrote pattern
it's
making.
okay.
Pattern making. Okay. Well, so to that point, will you tell us a little more about your art practice?
Yeah. So when I lived in New York, I studied fashion, and it was really my goal to work in the fashion industry. And that was kind of where I started from. I was really involved with textiles. I loved it, but then kind of moved towards art, and I gravitated towards anything textile. So like
Mhm.
fiber arts is still my main practice, is what I consider myself to be a textile or a fiber artist. And I try to incorporate these into other realms like video, installation. And I have some examples of what I like to do the most, if you want me to
Okay.
show them now. That
Yes,
we
that would be great.
Okay. So the main practice that I do for textile art is a practice Japanese marbling technique called suminagashi, and it looks like this.
Wow.
And this is involving like inks floating on water, and you put the inks on with brushes in these concentric circles. So it starts out looking like this, and then when you manipulate the paint in the vat, you can get like
Wow. Those
different
are really
patterns and colors, and they end up swirling together. Um,
wow.
and so this is definitely what I practice the most. And here's a paper version of that.
Okay.
So you can
Wow.
get very abstract, different types of images using this printmaking process.
Mhm.
But for me, what I do is I kind of use that as inspiration to do other projects. Like I also do a lot of weaving. So this is
Oh,
actually
wow.
lights up. And so it's inspired by the patterns that I get when I marble,
Okay.
but I use like a different technique. So this is like doing weaving, but kind of the same imagery. So I kind of use a lot of different techniques like marbling and to get inspiration from images and try and use them in my work, whether it's sewing, making quilts, or making installation. So it's kind of all over the map, but that's how I like to work.
Yeah, I feel like once you get into art, like it just kind of explodes. I don't think I know a single artist who's like, I do this one thing and I only do this one
Yeah.
thing.
Maybe
That's
clay people,
awesome.
because they like, I feel like people that are into clay or like metal, it's such an intensive
Mhm.
physical activity that they're like, you know, but I also do some ceramics as well. So that's kind of
Okay.
what I like to convey to my students working when I'm working with CAP. And just generally is that like, you can do multiple different techniques, have different interests, and combine them
Mhm.
and to create your own voice. So
Yeah,
don't it doesn't have to be just one thing.
definitely. So, what is your practice like? Like, how do you work on the regular basis?
So I have a home studio, which is very convenient, or very, you know, not if you're like somebody who, like me, who I work at crazy hours.
Mhm.
So like I usually wake up and I have set goals. for the
Okay.
month, and then for the week, and then for the day. So it might be like one day, for instance, with marbling, it takes a little bit to set up. I have to get my paints ready and water. So if I'm like, okay, I have to squeeze, I'll be, doing prints on paper and silk, and I'll be taking video of it for like projection later, all at the same time. So I try and make the best, most efficient use of my time to like be like, okay, this is the day where I'm going to do marbling all day, and I'm going to use this content for a few different projects. But,
Okay.
yeah, so that's kind of more of how I work. I like to switch it up with the variety, but try to be efficient with my time.
Wow, that's really important. I think a lot of people kind of feel like artists are just in the air and they just go with the flow, but it seems like your process is really technical and, like you said, efficient. You can use it multiple ways, which is really, really cool. So, is there a piece that you want to be remembered for?
Yeah, there's actually the stuff that I'm working on now with my art is I'm pushing towards interactive installation
Okay.
because I do a lot of work with fibers, video, and electronics. So it makes sense that I want to combine those into an experience for people. So I've been doing a lot with projection mapping, and I did this piece last year that was like basically a quilted piece that had conductive thread that when you touched the thread on this quilt, it would change the video that's being projected on it. And then I made the sound for it as well through playing around with modular synths. So I created the sound and video that would come on every time you would touch something in different places too. So there would be like 3 different places on this quilt that you could touch and manipulate the video and the sound. So that's like I think textiles is something that you want to touch. It's
Mm-hmm.
you want to touch it. So I want to encourage that. And maybe that's not I'm trying to rethink how I can make it interactive in this new era of coronavirus, and how
Yeah.
maybe you don't want a piece that everyone is touching again
Yeah.
all the time.
Yeah. Let me say.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm but that is the piece that I made last year that really has me thinking in a larger scale level. And so I'm thinking about doing things like installing motion sensors, or,
Okay.
being able to wave, or, add a piece and then have the interaction result through that.
Wow.
Not non-touching. Yeah.
Contactless.
Not yeah,
Yeah.
contactless art is what is maybe the future for at least who knows how long, but
Right.
that's
Definitely.
something that artists need to think about, like their audience and how it changes and how interacting with art needs to change. So
Wow, yeah, that is a lot to think about and definitely very, very relevant right now. So, just you saying that's kind of like advice to students and things like that. So, how did you kind of get into teaching? Did you teaching come first, or did the art come first, or which one?
Definitely the art came first. My own practice was always the focus. And then in Brooklyn, I worked for a really great organization called Textile Arts Center. And
Okay.
it's all fiber based, everything that I love. And then they also do programs with youth and adults. And, I was just getting really into marbling, and, I'm a longtime sewer. So they were really an encouraging network and group of artists that had their own practice and taught and really encouraged me and pushed me towards that. And as soon as I did it, I was like, I love teaching, and I need to make this part of my art practice, which is what a lot of
Mhm.
artists do. It's
Mhm.
great for, it's important to not just create art, but you want to share your
Mhm.
practice as well. And I can't think of a better program in Detroit than CAP, and connecting us to like the youth that are just there's so much talent in this city.
Mhm.
And I feel like, especially children need that encouragement
Mhm.
to continue with art, because it's not really a focus in schools generally. So this program is really important to the city.
Wow. So, what would you say the best part about teaching is? I'm sorry, this is going to be the final question. We're going to
Yeah.
wrap it up because it's like great. I could ask you a million questions, but we're going to wrap it up. So, what would you say the best part about teaching for you is?
I think my favorite part is not just teaching the process and the techniques to the students, but when they actually finish something and I can tell that they're really into their own work. I'm like, oh, this is great. You know, you did this. Like just
Mm-hmm.
that sort of level of accomplishment is my favorite moment, you know. For elementary school kids too, it's like when they, you know, we always end class with like a show and tell, let's talk about your work.
Mm-hmm.
And just seeing, yeah, like when they're so excited to share it, you know,
Mm-hmm.
it's not just, it's getting the feeling of accomplishment and pride in your own work, but also being excited to share that with others. So yeah, I think the last 10 minutes of class is my favorite time period.
Oh wow,
We
yeah.
can look, when we can look at what they've done and like, you know, yeah, and they're happy about it too. So
Definitely. Oh, well, thank you for sharing your time with us today.
yes.
I want to thank everybody who's watching live. I would encourage you to join us Tuesdays and Thursdays, Cap at Home on Facebook Live. You might be able to catch Miss Lynn teaching us something awesome. So, and come back next Saturday. We will be interviewing another one of our awesome teaching staff. So, thank you so much for joining us.
Yes,
Bye.
thank you, Rachel. Thank you. Bye, everyone.